In the previous installment of Black Site Files from Unsolved Mysteries, we learned about the orphan trains and how they were moving orphans from the East Coast to the Midwest in hopes of finding them a home. We were introduced to Sylvia Wemhoff, who was looking for her brother that she was separated from in 1921. Almost 7 years later, we were about to learn about another family who was separated in 1928. Francis Murphy was desperately looking for his sister Margaret before his time would run out. Sadly, before the orphan train case could be aired on television, Francis Murphy died on November 3rd, 1988. The search for Margaret is now being continued by Francis's family. My name is Jeff, aka GCurse. Welcome to another installment of Black Site Files from Unsolved Mysteries. In this installment, we will be learning about the case of Margaret Murphy. This case first aired on the January 25th, 1989 episode of Unsolved Mysteries. Just like the Sylvia Wemhoff wiki, the wiki for Margaret Murphy has a bunch of other information included. Because of this, it's going to seem a bit jumbled. Due to the fact that this wiki is a mess, I am going to forego any retro commercials just in order to try and get this out to everybody in a timely manner. Now, on to the case information. Okay, now time for the case information. The case is named Margaret Murphy. Full name was or is Margaret Murphy. Aliases, there are none known aliases. Date of birth, it is unknown. However, I think in the wiki that they may have said that she was a newborn, so possibly September 1928 when her and her brother Francis were separated. If she was alive as of the televised airing, she would have been 60 years old. Age, if she is alive as of recording this installment of Black Site Files from Unsolved Mysteries, she would actually be roughly 96 years old, approximately, if she was born in September of 1928. The location of this case was Yonkers, New York. The case classification is Lost Loves. Margaret has been missing since September 1928. Her age, when she went missing, it's unknown, but possibly she was newborn. So possibly even a few days old. If she is deceased, her current status is unknown. Is this case available on YouTube? Yes, you can actually find this in Season 1, Episode 15 of the Unsolved Mysteries uploads. The original televised episode air date was January 25th, 1989, and the case status currently sits at unsolved. Up next, it will be the case reading of Francis Murphy's search for his sister, Margaret Murphy. Okay, everybody, it's now time of my favorite time of these installments. Basically, it is time for the case reading. So let's pull up the case, shall we? Let's pull it up. Margaret Murphy, there we go. Okay, hold on, let's close that out. Thank you. Okay, let's do this. There we go. Okay, so during the case reading, I may actually take a break to get something to drink because after reading a while, it does kind of dry the throat out. So let's start off with it, shall we? Case is of Margaret Murphy, real name Margaret Murphy. Let's see here. They have a case listed as Lost Sisters, but if you go onto the Unsolved Mysteries video and you watch it, it's listed as Lost Loves. So I'm kind of wondering why they do that. Location was Yonkers, New York. And then the date was September 27 or 20 or September 1928, sorry. Case. Okay. Now, like I said, if a lot of this seems familiar from the previous installment, it's just that they kind of added a lot of the same information between this case and the Sylvia Wemhoff case. So they kind of cluttered it up, to be honest. They should have just kind of focused on the individual people, but no, they decided to just clutter it up. Okay, so with that said and out of the way, around the turn of the century, the streets of New York City were filled with starving immigrant children who had no one to care for them. The city orphanages overflowed. School classes and afternoon naps often took place outside, even in the bitter cold. To alleviate the crowded conditions, the Children's Aid Society of New York came up with a unique plan. They began to put orphans on trains around for bound for the South and the Midwest, hoping they would be adopted by farm families or along the route. Sorry. Between 1890 and 1929, scores of trains carried at least 150 orphans into the heartland of America. Sadly, many of them were separated from their siblings, whom they would never see again. In 1910, two brothers named Algie and Johnny rode in an orphan train. Along with a group of other orphans, they headed for Arkansas. Hoping to be adopted, Algie remembers that when they left New York City, none of them knew where they were going, but the man that took them knew where they were headed: Fayetteville, Arkansas. When Algie and Johnny's train arrived at Fayetteville, prospective parents were waiting to look the children over. Algie and Johnny hoped they would be able to stay together. Algie remembers that they lined all the children up beside the track. He remembers wondering what they were going to do with him and Johnny. He hoped that they would be placed in a home together. According to him, some of the adults took the children to make farmers or slaves out of them. I said this before in the Sylvia Wemhoff case. That's kind of cynical and kind of dark to think like that, you know. Some people took them because they wanted to love and take care of them. That's the way he should have thought of it, was that basically, you know, that hopefully they're going to go to a home that loves them, you know. But I don't know where he got the idea that they're going to be slaves. It's like, wow, boy, you sound like you already had it hard before you even hit the train, kid. Okay, so when it came to time to make the decision, the couple who took Algie only wanted one child. He wanted he and Johnny held on to each other's hands, but were torn apart. One family took him, and the other took Johnny. Eventually, Algie was able to accept the separation, but often he wondered where Johnny ended up. Happily, Algie and Johnny have since been reunited. Orphan train riders who are still living have since formed an organization called the Orphan Train Heritage Society in Springdale, Arkansas. I actually looked that up in the previous installment, Black Site Files of Unsolved Mysteries, and it's actually still, I'm guessing it looks like it's still actively being done and everything. See here, two other writers, Frances H. Murphy and Sylvia Wemhoff, have been unable to find their lost siblings. Frances was born September 29th, 1916, in Boston, Massachusetts. When he was 5, he became a ward of the Children's Aid Society and was placed in one of their lodging homes in Yonkers, New York. His teenage mother, Hilda, was too poor to take care of him. In September 1928, when he was 11, he rode the orphan train. In fact, he was one of the last children to do so. I didn't realize that. He was like, can you imagine what that'd be like? Like, you would be possibly one of the last people to take part in something that was like kind of like monumental, I guess you could really say. You know, he was one of 150,000 children who were kind of sent out into the heartland of America with hopes of finding a new home. see here, Hilda and his newborn half sister Margaret. So I was right, newborn. Were both left behind. He says that when he got on the train, he did not feel like he was being wrenched. Hold on, let's scroll that up. Wrenched away from somebody. He did not know that much about Hilda, so it was not a matter of them tearing him away from her because he was away from her all the time anyway. More than anything else, it felt like a big adventure to him. Being a child in New York City, Francis did not know much about the West. What he did know was from the picture shows he saw about cowboys, Indians, and engineers going that direction. It was one of the biggest thrills that a kid of that time could expect. Francis's excitement soon turned to sadness. At stop after stop, potential adoptive parents would be waiting to pick their child from the crowd, but not all the children found new parents. Francis, who had boarded the train in New York City with such high hopes, began to realize that none of the families along its route wanted him. When the other children would get off of it, he would take his belongings and try to join them. Oh, dude, that's sad. That's sad. Trying to blend in and try to just get assimilated into, hopefully getting assimilated into a home and only to be turned down. Oh, dude, that'd be crushing. But the Children's Aid Society workers would tell him that he should stay on board. He would see the crowd get smaller and smaller until finally he was the only child left on board. Oh, jeez. That has to be crushing. That has to be crushing. Just the thought that you're hoping that somebody would actually want you, and then come to find out, no matter what, nobody did, and you were literally like the last child on the train. Oh my god. I'm wondering if it was his age, because they said he was like 11. They said that he was like 11, so maybe they wanted younger, children because it's easier. I'm guessing it's easier to kind of mold a younger child than it is somebody who's about to become a teenager. Let's see here. Francis never was adopted. He ended up in Wichita, Kansas, going from family to family as a foster child. And this isn't the first time that they've covered foster children on Unsolved Mysteries. I can't recall what it was, but there was what the name of the case was. But there was a girl who was in the foster system, and she had like a chip on her shoulder because of her being constantly shifted from home to home to home to home. She finally got that family that actually did want her, and sadly, I think it was her father that decided to take her back, and she wanted to find that foster family to say thank you. So this isn't like the first time that Unsolved Mysteries has actually covered foster children. Let's see here. In spite of his early hardships, his life turned out well. After graduating from the University of Missouri Columbia in 1946, he became a high school teacher, married, and had 5 children and 6 grandchildren. I'll be honest, that's something I wish could happen to me. I have a nice degree. I'm actually in the education field myself, but I'm not married and I don't have any kids, so But I'm glad that it's nice to know that he actually was able to turn out okay and everything. Extra notes. This case first aired on the January 25th, 1989 episode about orphan trains, along with that of the brother of Sylvia Wemhoff, which I covered previously. Mary Johnson of the Orphan Train Heritage Society was contacted by the show's producers in April 1988 to produce a segment on orphan train riders. Francis was contacted after it was learned he was one of the last writers before the program was shut down. Francis was interviewed for the show at Mary's home in Springdale, Arkansas. Immediately after he was interviewed, he asked, "Will this really be shown on national television?" And the producer confirmed this. He then said, "I think I need to lie down." He slumped forward in his wheelchair, suffering from heart failure. He was taken to a nearby hospital where he died. Now, I remember that, they did say that he died before the show was before the show made it to air, but I don't think that they said that part. So that's really kind of startling. It's like he learned that his case was going to make it to national television, and then he passed away. Jeez. Results: unsolved. Francis developed heart disease in 1987. Sadly, he died on November 3rd, 1988. I was one day short of turning 7 years old when this happened. Uh, Soon after his interview was filmed at the age of 72, his wife and family have continued his search, and they asked that the show present his story. Despite the fact that he is gone, they hope to unite the family who still loves him with the family he never knew and wanted so desperately to find. According to Francis's widow, Christine, it was extremely important for him to go ahead with his interview. He had been looking forward to it for months. Just the hope that he would find somebody, particularly his sister, was important. Christine says that he did not know much about love growing up. However, he found out as he got older and had a family of his own. She thinks that finding Margaret would be an extension of that love. She says that it is still very important to her and their family that they finish what he tried to do. It's nice to know that they're still trying to take up this mantle of finding his sister. Like they could have been the type of family that once Francis was gone, it's like, well, we tried, but they actually are actively continuing to look for Margaret. So I gotta give them credit for that. Oh, okay. So it says that she was born around 1927. So apparently I was wrong. I thought she was born, in 1928 when they were separated. So I was wrong. So she has red hair. She was probably born in either Yonkers or New York City. She may have been adopted. Her and Francis's mother was Hilda Harding. Murphy. Wait. Francis's mother was Hilda Harding Murphy. She died in 1929. Their grandparents were John and Elizabeth Harding from Nova Scotia. Francis's father was Martin Murphy. Due to the passage of time, it is possible that Margaret is now dead, and that's what it's a sad fact. As time passes, stuff like that can happen. Sadly, on May 30th, 2006, Christine passed away at the age of 80. Okay, we got a couple of find a graves here. So let's actually take the one find a grave is for Francis, and the other is actually for his wife Christine. So we're going to look at the Francis. Uh, his middle name was Homain. I didn't know that. Francis Homain Murphy, and it looks like he was actually a veteran. So, it's actually today as I'm recording this, it is actually Veterans Day. So, let's hope that we can find this veteran, his family. It may not be today or tomorrow. Or did I say brother? I meant to say sister. Let's hope that we can find this soldier, his sister that he so desperately wanted to know. Okay, so let's actually zoom in. There we go. Okay, so Frances Homaine Murphy, date of birth was September 29th, 1916. Death was November 3rd, 1988. He was 72 years of age. The burial was at Slater City Cemetery. It's in Slater, which is in Saline County, Missouri. And then let's see here. So let's take a look at the photos first. So we have this photo here. This was taken from the show just before Francis died. And he actually looks like a pretty nice guy. Hold on, let's zoom out. There you go. There you go. He actually looks like a pretty nice guy. It's sad that he was unable to locate his sister before his passing. Up next, we have his headstone, tombstone. Actually, here let me pull up this. Let's see here. I have a list of stuff I would like to look at when it comes to. Let's see here. When it comes to unsolved mysteries, when I do these cases. So here, and this has always been something that has bothered me. Difference between tombstone, headstone, and marker. There it goes. And I'll try to remember to look this up before the end of this segment. So there you go. So we have his resting place, Francis Homaine Murphy, Private First Class, U.S. Army, World War II, and then gives his date of birth and date of death. This is actually a very nice tombstone, I guess you would call it, or a headstone. And then here we have, looks like, I'm wondering why it has this. Is this on the other side, I wonder? Hold on. That's weird. I'm wondering why he has two headstones. I know that his wife is there with him. Maybe they changed it out after Christine passed away. And then we have. Oh, this must be some sort of. Oh, it's a family search entry. Wait a minute. Oh, that's weird. Here it says that she died June 11th, 1932. I'm not sure if this is actually something to be believed, though. So that, let's close this. And now let's go back to memorial. Now let's zoom back in. Come on. Oh, wrong button. There it goes. Okay, so for parents, we had Hilda Harding Murphy, 1890 to 1929. He had one child that looks like John C. Murphy, 1962 to 1924, and then his wife, Christine Hay Murphy, from 1926 to 2006, and they were married in 1946. Okay, let's check out Christine. Okay, Christine Hay Murphy. Date of birth was February  21st, 1926. Location was Gilliam, Saline County, Missouri, USA. Date of death was May 30th, 2006. She was 80 years old. The location was Columbia, Boone County, Missouri, USA. And she looks like she's buried at the same location that Francis is, Slater County Cemetery. Okay, let's take a look at the photos. It looks like we don't have that much in the way of photos here. We have the tombstone, and then we have this. I'm guessing this is like a CGI image, possibly. Okay, let's take a look at the memorial. Okay, so for her family members, parents, we had Harry Hay, 1872 to 1961. We had, for her mother, we have Minnie Armina Larkin Hay from 1879 to 1962. He had a sibling, Leander Hay, from 1917 to 2006. And then we had Frances Homane Murphy as her spouse. And then she had a child, John C. Murphy, yeah, from 1962 to 1924. And that is it, ladies and gentlemen. That was the case of Francis Murphy. Sadly, Francis, he was unable to learn. Hold on. He was unable to learn the what ended up happening to his sister Margaret. As we just saw from some of those photos, it looks like possibly Margaret may have passed away, but without any concrete evidence, I'm not going to say she passed away at that time. However, I do kind of agree that possibly due to the passage of time, she did pass away. But that is it, ladies and gentlemen. That was the case of Margaret Murphy and Frances Murphy, I guess you could say. This also marks the closure of the Orphan Trains little two-parter that I did. When I return, it will be with the final thoughts, so stay tuned, and I'll be right back. Okay, so that marks the end of another installment of Black Site Files from Unsolved Mysteries. In this episode, or this installment, I should say, sorry, we covered the case of Margaret Murphy. Margaret Murphy is an individual that her brother Francis, I was about to say Thomas, her brother Francis Murphy was desperately trying to find. Sadly, Francis died before he ever had that closure. And maybe this is a chance that somebody down the road may see this video or another video, other videos that are online, and they may have that one key to help solve this case. Kind of like what Robert Stack would used to say. But I hope that the family of Francis gets the answers that they're looking for. I feel that every case should be solved no matter what. But that is it, ladies and gentlemen. We are done with the orphan train uh cases. And next time we will be moving on to a whole new case, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you like psychics because we got a case, or I have a case about a very well known, a well known psychic. Her name is Dorothy Allison. She has helped the police in her jurisdiction basically kind of solve a lot of cases that needed help. So yeah, so I'm going to give you a little bit of or I'm going to show you the promo, and it'll give you an idea. We're not going to watch the video like always. This is just kind of done to give you an idea what you can expect when I read you the case. So you can kind of get the faces of the players and everything. Okay, so let's turn this off. Okay, and here we go. So here we go.
In 1967, a 5-year-old boy fell into a rain-swollen creek in Nutley, New Jersey. In 1974, a New York banker boarded a commuter train to take him home to New Jersey. During the train ride, he vanished. In 1976, a 14-year-old schoolgirl left her home on Staten Island to look for a summer job. That afternoon, she disappeared. What links these cases together is Dorothy Allison, a housewife from Nutley, New Jersey. She predicted where all 3 bodies would be found, what happened to the victims, and remarkably, in 2 cases, predicted when they would be discovered. Dorothy Allison and the authorities with whom she has worked claim she has psychic powers.
Okay, so that is the case of Dorothy Allison. Do you believe in psychics? Do you think that they're real? Do you think that they're frauds? What do you think? We're gonna find that out in the next installment of Black Site Files from Unsolved Mysteries. But I guess that's it, ladies and gentlemen. That is it for today. I just want to say thank you to everyone who has taken the time out of your day to watch this case. And hopefully, I will have earned your subscription or you clicking that subscribe button. I was about to say subscription, but I don't have a subscription. But hopefully I have earned the right for you to click that subscribe button, and that way you'll be alerted when I release new content. I just want to say thank you to everybody who has joined me over the years on YouTube and have clicked that subscribe button. It means a lot to me. And I guess that's about it. I'm going to get on out of here and I'm going to get this ready to upload. And I will see you next time. My name is Jeff, aka GCurse. Wishing you all a great day. Stay safe, everybody. Peace out.